Okay, we're here this morning on an overcast day at Fitzy's Marina and Restaurant on a beautiful Breton Bay. Fitzy's is home of the best crab cakes in town. We're interviewing Mike Alderson Jr., who's running for the Republican nomination for District 3, the St. Mary's County Republican primary for July 19th. Mike, would you tell our viewers and readers a little bit about yourself and your upbringing, where you were born, where you went to school, where you were raised, and your professional experience and your community involvement?
Certainly. My name's Mike Alderson. I'm running for 3rd District Commissioner. I was born and raised in Dameron. I'm a lifelong resident of St. Mary's County. My wife is a lifelong resident from 7th District, and we happened to meet down in Piney Point at a friend's party. I served in the Marine Corps after I graduated high school at Great Mills in 1987. Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, returned home in 91. That's when I met Andrea. Eventually got married, had 2 boys, Sean and Andrew, and they both speak 1st and 7th District, thanks to our upbringing. And we live in Colton's Point now. I am a production planner for a large commercial printer in Charles County, and I've worked there for a little over 29 years. My wife's been a school teacher in St. Mary's County for 28 plus years. One boy is in college, mechanical engineering major, and the other one is in middle school at National Junior Honor Society student. I started, when my boys were growing up, I started as a youth soccer coach, like most dads, and eventually ended up on the board of directors for Northern Soccer League. When the boys got done with soccer, I increased my involvement with the 7th District Optimist Club, and I've served my community that way through our Easter egg hunts, Father's Day dinners, shop with a cop. Those are the things, type of stuff we do. I was recently selected to be a member of the Governor's Committee for the 400 Commission to celebrate the founding of the 400th anniversary of the founding of the state of Maryland. And last week I was endorsed by the FOP. What I would like to do in this, I want to make the government work like it's supposed to for us, our local government. And county commissioners have a mission statement, and I think we've had a little bit of mission creep off that mission statement, especially when it comes to transparency in government and efficiency of government.
What led you to decide to run for office for county commissioner?
Coming out of COVID and the way that small businesses were treated was abysmal. Meanwhile, I could still go to the liquor store and get anything I want. We could still go to Walmart, what have you. But the little guy down the street, no, couldn't do it. The restaurants closing up. And the ludicrous restrictions of the social distancing, and then you can do this, but you can't do that.
Do you think the bureaucrats and the elitists, the globalists, the people who designed all that and ordered those shutdowns, do you think they're going to feel the heat of the voter this year in the November elections?
I think there's going to be a much more red wave than what people are thinking, what you see on Twitter.
Last night you participated in the candidate forum at Lexington Park. They had questions coming from the leftist sponsors of that forum asking about the January 6th insurrection, an insurrection in which people came in without guns. I mean, yes. Usually when they have insurrections around the world, they kind of remember to bring guns with them.
Exactly.
They asked questions about, did somebody think Biden was illegitimately elected president? And of course, anybody that watched the elections and saw that voting all shut down in 6 states simultaneously at 10:30 at night, usually a time when they're ordering coffee and pizza in for counting, you know, it would make anyone suspicious of the results of that election, regardless of how the electors cast their vote in Congress. People have a right to question it without being shut down by Facebook and Twitter. So when you saw that last night coming at you, did you think maybe the Republican Party should be a sponsor, a co-sponsor of the debates?
Without a doubt. If you're gonna present to everybody, you need to include everybody. If you understand what I'm saying, you can't just have these special interest groups holding their debates and forums and with no counter.
Right.
So it's their party and it's their rules last night, without a doubt. And I would like to see a more diversified panel to be able to look at those questions as they come in and kick out what this really doesn't pertain to this race. Let's put this aside.
Well, basically, when you have three leftist organizations sponsoring it, it's rigged. Last week on June 15th, there were 3.5 minutes cut out of the debate between Fritz and Sterling, and there were 13 minutes overall cut out on what was broadcast on the St. Mary's Library YouTube account versus what was broadcast on the St. Mary's County government account. The difference is over 800 people saw the edited version, and only 200 and some saw the version on the county website the last time I looked. So there was a tainted version of that debate shown to the public. And to move on with last night's debate, you talked about how you wanted to see town centers expanded in the county. Could you expand a little bit on that?
I think with the town centers that are designated in the county already, they do need to be built out. To have a commercial center, if you have a commercial center, you don't have a store here and a store over there. You can still maintain people who live in the RPDs, who moved here for the rural nature of the county. Yes, you're going to have to drive, but if you can go to one central location, get all your shopping done, and then go back to your, like I said, I live in the sticks, I live down in Colton's Point. To go back to your little hidey holes at the end of the road, and then you don't have to deal with all that traffic all the time. Those centers need to be on the major thoroughfares, and traffic studies on those intersections that will be affected, definitely have to be improved upon as needed.
Well, St. Mary's County didn't even have zoning until 1974. After that, it oriented all the major development to the Leonardtown, Hollywood, Lexington Park triangle,
Yes.
and ignored the traditional village centers, which is basically what you're talking about. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So returning to a time where village centers could flourish would benefit the county.
I believe so, because especially because what I see in my mind is like Bowie Town Center. And granted, that's basically just outdoor mall set up like a little village, where you go, you park, and you're basically walking around the entire time. Think Leonardtown times 2, but with more stores, with equal balance of stores and restaurants, and not all restaurants.
Okay. One of the reasons, or one of the first times I think people saw you in the public dialogue, was at the public forum held a couple months ago in Leonardtown, where the county commissioners were lambasted for failing to have public hearings for the pot factory at Able. Could you talk about that experience? You represented former Commissioner Agan that night and read a statement.
Yes, I did. A couple weeks previous to that, I had several members of my community that I respect highly come up to me and asked me if I would run for county commissioner. And I had designs on running for county commissioner from years ago. I was asked by the board of directors from the soccer league to do that, and I said, no, it's too early. My plan was to go at 26. Well, this development came up in Able, and so I had these gentlemen come up to me and said, Mike, we need someone. We're too old, but we're not too tired. We need someone young and with some fire to get in there, and who can convey the thoughts of someone in your age group with youngish kids, and what this is going to do to our community. Now, I understand property rights, but you also have to respect the property rights of your neighbors, and you have zoning rules for a reason. Those zoning rules, I believe, were, shoved to the side a little bit, and when
Well, major zoning proposals all have a public hearing aspect. There was none here. And from what I can see, the first permit for this was granted in August of 2018. So it preceded the election of the current board. And yet they discussed it at the December meeting of the first meeting of this board in December of 2018. You can see the YouTube video. And in there, they talk about it, and they seem to be concentrating more on how old the people have to be working in the pot factory, not whether there should be a pot factory. Now, the people who live in residential neighborhoods and in the critical area are appalled to see this pot factory put in there. It's a size, it's an acre-sized building, and they may even add on to it.
Yes.
Okay? So, what do you think should be happening in the minds of a voter right now, faced with voting for these incumbent commissioners like Randy Guy, for instance, or Eric Colvin, who are they want to go back in another term? You're running for an open seat where there's not an incumbent, but you're going to have to serve with these people.
Yes.
Are you going to make sure in the future that public hearings are held? Or are you going to be quiet and sit on your hands like Eric Colvin did?
No, well, from what it was explained to us that the state sent down the rules saying you could zone this property two ways: agriculture, horticulture, agriculture, industrial, minor. One required a public hearing, one didn't, and we know which one got in, the one that didn't require a public hearing.
So why aren't people surrounding Leonard Hall, the governmental center, with torches and cutting off the heads of the commissioners and putting them on pikes and marching around as a lesson to them to not do this kind of thing in the future? Well, has it gotten to that point where people do that, or are you just going to vote them out of office?
I don't think people are with their pitchforks and torches because it's not in their backyard, and they don't go out there. My wife's family lives on that road. They live downwind of the prevailing winds of the factory. The smell from the plants that are already growing in the research and development facility is what you can smell out there when you're outside trying to enjoy the pool or just sit on the pier.
So you're not smelling Old Bay from crabs cooking. You're not smelling the aroma of the salt air coming off the water.
No.
You're smelling what?
You smell marijuana.
Incredible.
And even in that area, the whole area was, of course, farm. It's all farmland down there. And even when manure gets spread on the fields, that smell goes away after a couple days, and it gets to 100, and it's gone. But the smell's going to be there forever. So
this plant is worse than hog manure.
It's more. The hog manure is going to go away.
Right.
This is not, because the toothpaste is out of the tube, and I don't think there's a way to get it back in.
So this is a byproduct of decisions made in Annapolis by the Maryland General Assembly. I wonder how many of these pot factories are going to go in fancy neighborhoods in Bethesda or Chevy Chase or Rockville, where these legislators are that voted for this. Do you think there'll be any up there?
No. That's not going to happen.
Okay. All right. Now, taxes. People get taxed from the time they're born till after they die. You're still paying taxes.
Yes.
Okay? Because they want to tax. If you leave a little bit of an estate, you can't leave it to your two sons. The state wants to come in and take the lion's share of it. What are you going to do about holding down taxes in St. Mary's County as a commissioner?
I think we need to stay with the constant yield. At first, instead of raising taxes, what I want to do is I want to work the budget we're going to hit our items that we need first, the primary items first. Then we'll worry about, what we want. Get needs, wants, and then if there's any left over, we'll give that relief back to the county citizens in some way, shape, or form.
Well, taxes, they pay for not only what you buy now, but for bond bills for what your wish list is. And among the county's bond bill and debt has grown exorbitantly under these commissioners. They have the proposal in for a $26 million sheriff's palace in Leonardtown. They have a huge building already. How do they fight crime if they build a bigger building and stuff more deputies in it? is the crime taking place in that building or maybe elsewhere, like in the neighborhoods or in Lexington Park or whatever? As a commissioner, are you going to deep six that silly proposal, which has had no public input into it?
I would like to see an additional building at the governmental center because there is an issue with evidence storage over there. As after talking to members of the FOP and talking to members of the law enforcement community, that there definitely needs to be at least an evidence storage area, because right now they're putting stuff in empty lockers. There does need to be offices there, but my priority for the sheriff's department is to get more officers in the street and try to get as many SROs in the schools as possible.
Well, they just built a $6 million building on Great Mills Road, and it's empty.
It's empty, yes.
You know, I went and knocked on the door or watched a candidate knock on the door at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. There were no cars in the parking lot. Well, it's government. Government shuts down at 4 o'clock on a Friday in the middle of the biggest crime area. Okay, there's nobody there to take a report or for a citizen to go in. So you need another big building like that in Leonardtown?
Probably not the $27 million that they need. I know the money's been earmarked, it's on the CIP, but I would like to see, like I said, I would like to see what we can do to expand what we have already to help out the sheriff's office with what they need immediately, as opposed to 10 years down the road. Because what concerns me at the county level and for the citizens of the county is that I don't foresee our economy nationwide getting better over the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, we're already in a recession.
Yes, definitely.
They won't admit it.
Well,
we have huge inflation. The Democrats have shown that they can screw up the best economy in the world and make us energy dependent once again. They did it in a record time. I mean, they're very talented at screwing things up.
The people who work every day, like I have to drive 38 miles one way to go to work, because I'm still working a full-time job while I'm doing campaigning, and I go and I look at my gas bill and I'm like, really?
Let me ask you about the north end of the county. Nobody ever talks about the north end of the county, all right? And yet, there's more development going in up there. They're trying to bring more in. One candidate a few years ago said, keep Waldorf in Waldorf. And, and people didn't like that idea, a few people didn't, because they're basically obligated to the real estate industry and to the developers and builders. And yet, at the same time, for people who live in the north end, do they really need that development? And that's our main path out of the county, other than the broken down bridge at Solomon's. Mm-hmm. That's the two chief ways you leave the area and go up the road. So would you be in favor of more development there in Charlotte Hall?
What kind of development are you asking? I mean, do you want housing or do you want retail, commercial?
Well, especially garden apartments and townhouses. I mean, that's what brings in a more population, which really doesn't help with the tax base. So it would probably be commercial and big box stores and things like that. Can we afford more? Would that be a good idea?
I think I'd be opposed to having a big box store up there. I'm thinking big box store the size of the Super Walmart and the Super Target we have. And maybe if they could get something besides another dollar store in the north end of the county, I think the citizens up there would appreciate it. I know they would appreciate a restaurant where you're not going through a drive-through window and asking if you want fries with that. Because there's nothing up there. You figure you have Golden Beach, there's 1,200 homes in Golden Beach. What dining options do they have up there? They're going to Waldorf, or they're driving all the way down to Lexington Park. Why can't they have someplace close? You can come out of Golden Beach, come around Newmarket Turner Road, and if you go right there where the Veterans Clinic is, if you go right there and you put a restaurant there, you got access where you're not going out on Route 5 at all. You can go around, you're alleviating traffic there. There does need to be sensible development up there, and as far as townhouses and garden apartments, I would be hesitant to say let's dump them in there, because you don't want the high density housing issue up there is, I know that's a trigger point for the people in Golden Beach, and I understand that, and because I don't live in a huge neighborhood, I live, basically, something like this.
The farmers market on the corner in front of the library was flourishing for a long time. It got a lot of people off the road. The farmers are doing well with it. But then this county has a bad habit of listening to its bureaucrats. And the bureaucrats decided having a hidden away farmers market down near the dump on Route 6 would be a good idea. And they spent a lot of money doing it. But you can't even see it. You don't even know it's there, all right, when you're coming down the road. So you wonder, what happened to all the Amish market wagons out there? And it turns out, well, the library, according to Commissioner Guy, he says, well, the library didn't like it out there. Maybe people wanted more tomatoes and books. I don't know, but there was plenty of room right next to the library to expand the parking or expand the farmers market over there. Is there a limit on what the bureaucrats get to decide and dictate? Or are we stuck listening to the bureaucrats forever?
Well, that goes back to the mission statement and part of the mission statement for the county commissioners is preserve our heritage, preserve the county's heritage. Okay, the Amish were here long before the library was, and long before the current county commissioners and the previous board was there. I fail to see why there would be such a conflict between the library and where the Amish were. Now, they got moved to their new barns, and the barn looks great from the pictures I've seen on it. I haven't seen them in person, but I also know that when they built the place and they cut the ribbon on it, they didn't put any kind of stables up to shelter the horses from the sun or the weather. And so that's the next thing that they have to. That's what they're working on now, getting that squared away for the Amish.
Okay, the Republican board from '94 to '98. And also from 2002 to 2006, and to a great extent, the commissioners that have been elected since 2014 have almost fully funded education in the county over the years. Will you, as a Republican commissioner, continue to do that and fund the needs of education?
Fund the needs, yes. Wants need to be looked at. I want our kids to receive the tools they need to succeed in the future based on merits, skills, and abilities, not their social credit scores.
Well, the school system isn't exactly innocent in presenting budgets that are realistic. I think over the years they got the roof at Leonardtown Middle School replaced 3 times, in funding, maybe only did it in actuality once. So they should be more honest about their budgets they propose. But basically, the taxpayers of this county have supported education. And you'll do that as a commissioner.
Yes, and I also would like to work with the school board and with the superintendent to give more of a fire in some kids who don't want to go to college, who don't think they can go to college, who don't want to incur college debt. You have the Forest Center. Go ahead and send these kids to the tech center because the world's going to need plumbers, the world's going to need electricians. You can send a kid out of high school market ready to work. The learning curve has been decreased for him. He can go out there and start earning money faster. He will not incur the debt. I'm a product of the vocational education system in St. Mary's County Public Schools. I started printing my senior year in high school, and here it is, 2022, and I'm still in the printing industry. Granted, I'm in a management position now, but the vocational education in this county needs to be used as a stepping stone for success for kids who don't want to go to college, and it really needs to be pressed and make sure these kids aren't felt like they are less than for deciding to go a vocational route as opposed to an academic route. Like I said, my son's in college. My wife has a master's degree. I have nothing against college, but some kids just aren't college, don't want to go to college.
The school system is down about 800 students for various reasons. Homeschooling, moving to charter schools, moving to private schools. Does the school system need to adjust their budget requests when they have 800 less students?
If you're being funded on per pupil, then yes.